program. So Bernie Sanders claims to be the alternative. Now, the problem is he does not have a real program. One of the papers today quotes that he wants to be a revolutionary. Well, I'm sorry, that's not revolutionary. Raising the minimum wage is a great demand. We're all for it, 1,000%. But that will not by itself transform the entire system, nor will these other things. You can tax bankers as individuals more or less. You have not changed the institutional pattern of the system. The Wall Street sales tax is something quite different. That shifts the power relations, and it also begins to put the hand of government regulation and the government treasury into the pockets, not just of individuals, but of banks, and breaking the power of banks as distinct from individuals here and there is what is crucial. So revolutionary demands, remember, are reforms that seem to be perfectly normal and perfectly reasonable to the average person in the afflicted breakdown society, but which at the same time represent a qualitative change that alters the entire dynamic and structure of that society. In other words, a revolution. So revolutionary is the 1% Wall Street sales tax and seizing the Federal Reserve. Bernie does not say anything about the Federal Reserve as far as I can tell. Not a word, not a word, not a mumbling word from Bernie on that critical question of the Federal Reserve. Now, there is, of course, a structural effect, which we cannot leave unmentioned. According to Charles Lane, I think reactionary in the Washington Post yesterday, Thursday, April 30th, the likely effect and intent of a Sanders challenge is to push both the Clinton campaign and her administration to the left, thus consolidating what this guy calls liberal control of the party. This liberal and conservative is a colossal mystification. When I look at that, I say, well, if he's a little wheel attached to her big wheel, how about another still smaller wheel that pulls Bernie further to the left towards actual revolutionary change? I would have some ideas about how to do that. I'm going to think about that a lot, right? How an effort to the left of Sanders could actually make that into a kind of a conveyor belt that would take things like the Wall Street sales tax and seizing the Fed and putting that mainstream, right? Confronting Madame Clinton and her money bags and all the rest of it. The other thing is a couple of other ones. Free trade. Oh, Bernie, you're against free trade. That's great. But what are you against? Are you against the fast track? I'm against the fast track. How about against the free trade bill itself? I'm not sure you are. I am. I am against the free trade bill, and I'll go you one better, as Harold Meyerson wrote in the Washington Post yesterday. I'll go you one better, Bernie. 15% protective tariff. 15%. We've got to build a wall behind which we can rebuild industries, living standards, unions, and other elements of anti-financier power. Bernie wants to increase Social Security pension. Fine. Again, taxing the rich. Taxing the rich is okay. It creates certain political problems, but the main thing is tax the banks, tax Wall Street, as they asked Willie Sutton. Why? Because that's where the money is. Now, the British, we've done. We've also noticed that the Republican reactionaries have passed their House of Representatives austerity genocide budget for the coming year. We're going to try to get it. Most of the press coverage refuses to tell you the genocidal killer cuts that the Republicans are wreaking on the American people. So they're running interference, right? They don't want you to realize how fascist those guys are. But the other question then is Baltimore. Now, we've just had the Baltimore District Attorney, State's Attorney Mosby announced that there would be serious charges, including one second-degree murder charge against the 6 cops in the incident involving Freddie West. So here's what I would say about this entire thing. On the narrow question about these charges, I think this is statesmanlike in the sense that it is imperative that we break away from this pattern of white cop kills black victim and gets off scot-free. That won't work. That is not. It's not possible to maintain public order at this point, right? We've had the police, unfortunately, running wild for many years, and now it's time to change that. And, of course, we'd also want to examine the interplay between reactionary Republican political machines and these wayward cops. But the deterrent effect of that on many racist policemen, I think, will be considerable. I wonder, what were these guys thinking? Don't you realize you're in a big upheaval about this issue, and you go ahead with arrogance and impudence and have this guy not treated and then killed? No, this is impossible. So there's been some skepticism about the charges. Limbaugh had some guy who said that the charges are not really all going to be fought, right? That they're kind of a beginning salvo, and eventually the charges will be reduced. I think there's plenty of basis for those charges. So these guys now, as a lot of these reactionaries are fond of saying, you'll get your day in court. Fine. They get their day in court. And remember that the starting point of this is that the Maryland medical examiner, not the Baltimore DA, the Maryland medical examiner said this was a homicide. So at that point, if it's a homicide, then some charges. The other thing we have to remember is there is no confidence left in the grand jury process. The grand jury process is going to have to be reformed or dumped or something like this, because the old saying used to be a grand jury will indict a ham sandwich. And now we see it will also not indict a killer with the blood dripping off his hands. That will be found to be something completely benign. And now we're also hearing the reactionaries saying, yeah, but this Mosby, she was very close to the family. Well, that guy in Ferguson was so close to the police department. What, are we kidding? Turnabout is fair play. Sauce for the goose, sauce for the gander. It's all based on reciprocity. But the big issue is this. Jobs. We had this London Independent, and you can actually see it perhaps even better in the daily briefing of the Tax Wall Street Party. The place has 52% unemployment. We need 10 million new jobs for people out of work. Back in a minute.
Attention taxpayers. If you've received a notice from the IRS or state, do not ignore it. It's also a big mistake to try and handle your tax problem on your own. If you owe back taxes, it's a fact that the government has the power to take everything you own, including your home, business, wages, savings, and your freedom. But here's the good news. There's a special toll-free tax hotline set up especially for you. This tax hotline will tell you about new programs that are geared to help you dramatically settle, reduce, or eliminate what you owe. But you have to call now. Take down this number or put it in your cell phone. But call 877-345-7645. That's 877-345-7645. When you call, you get free information on how you can reduce or eliminate back taxes, including penalties and interest. You can also be helped if you have unfiled returns, a tax lien, wage garnishment, bank levy, or if you've been entered into a payment plan but can't make the payments. Don't make the big mistake in thinking you can ignore or handle your tax problem on your own. You can stop the collection process immediately at 1-877-345-7645. That's 1-877-345-7645. 1-877-345-7645.
There's a man named Dr. Joel Wallach who is anything but your typical doctor, both a veterinarian and naturopathic physician. Doc asks, why does the United States spend more money on healthcare by far and still rank 50th in health and longevity worldwide? He believes that people should empower themselves with a basic understanding of nutrition, take charge of their health, and attain optimal health and longevity through nutrition, not by toxic prescription drugs that lead to side effects and more toxic prescription drugs. drugs. Doc Wallach's message is resonating with an increasing number of Americans who are waking up to all the big government, big pharma, and big insurance manipulation of our healthcare system. I'm George Norrie, and I like what Doc Wallach is saying and doing to enlighten people about health care. Visit brightsideben.com and listen to Doc Wallach's Deadly Recipes lecture. It makes a lot of sense, and I urge you to join the Brightside Ben team. Go to brightsideben.com. That's brightsideben.com.
Gold. It's like nothing else on Earth. From the Romans through the Renaissance, from the Industrial Age to the Space Age, gold has weathered the test of time. For 6,000 years, gold has remained the ultimate store of wealth. According to the World Gold Council and the U.S. Mint, demand is at an all-time high. The stage is being set for the reemergence of gold as the common-sense alternative to a fiat paper currency that gets weaker every day. Midas Resources is proud to offer the hard-hitting report that arms you with the truth you need to protect you and your family from the Fed's plans for your hard-earned money. Don't gamble with your future. Call Midas Resources today and ask for your free copy of As Good as Gold. Call 1-800-686-2237 for the report the Fed hopes you'll never see. As Good as Gold can be yours by calling 800-686-2237. If you have ever thought about owning gold, you must read this report. Call Midas today at 800-686-2237.
It's time to build your own emergency food stockpile with the industry leader, My Patriot Supply. Once you try them, you'll know why so many Americans like you have made them part of their emergency preparedness plan. Experience the My Patriot Supply difference today with this unbelievable offer. Right now, a 4-week food supply is only $99, and that includes free shipping. That's 50% off the online price. Call 800-274-3070 to claim yours. Limit 2 per caller while supplies last. This offer isn't available online, so you want to make sure and grab this opportunity to get prepared today. 800-274-3070 to get your 4-week food supply for the incredible price of only $99, and it'll be shipped to you completely free. Call 800-274-3070 right now. That's 800-274-3070 to claim yours while supplies last. Don't wait. Call today.
The nation's largest independently owned and operated talk radio network. The Genesis Communications Network. G's.
Crisis Radio. This is Webster Tarpley reporting from Washington, D.C. Now, as we mentioned already at the beginning of the program, it is May 1st. It is International Labor Day. This is when the working people are supposed to feel their oats. And we have reports that the Greek finance minister, Varoufakis, was certainly, I think, the only finance minister to go out and take part in the demonstrations of the working people, and that happened in Athens already earlier today. But don't let me take the time. Let's give the floor to Michael Chiotinis, our excellent and time-tested correspondent in Athens. Michael, welcome.
Hello, Webster. And
Hiya.
that's true. He went out there and he took part in the this whole demonstrations. Now, first of all, let me remind our listeners where things are at the moment in Greece. In February 20th, as you remember, Greece and its European partners, lenders or institutions, supposedly arrived at an agreement. They set a plan for a short-term deal. Why short-term? Because between the left government in Greece and its partners in Europe, as you can imagine, the difference of opinion on economic policy is huge. So, the very moderate and good-willing Greek finance minister, Varoufakis, we just mentioned him, he said, let's start with whatever it is we can agree on and leave the harder stuff for later down the line, when we will have built some trust between us. So since then, since February 20th, they've been working on the specifics of this short-term deal, and on a basis for a midterm agreement. Let me do a quick note here. We'll never say that a long-term agreement is struck until the issue of debt restructuring is addressed. Now, where are we now? Negotiations for the specifics of